Hello, everyone. This is Eleanor Rigby. I was sitting here in my kitchen this morning holding this old chipped blue ceramic mug, the one with the little hairline crack near the handle that she refused to throw away for 30 years. And I realized that time doesn't actually move in a straight line. It circles back on us. I'm 82 years old now, and looking at this mug, I felt like I was 24 again, standing in our first apartment with the radiator hissing in the corner. If I hadn't learned the secret I'm about to tell you, if I hadn't figured out how to keep a conversation going even when the room is silent, I would have lost the very foundation of my life decades ago. Before I tell you this story, please subscribe. I want to pass this wisdom down before I'm gone, so you don't make the same mistakes I see so many people making today. I want these words to stay behind when I can't. You see, the topic today is something people find a bit strange when they visit me. They hear me whispering in the garden, or they see me setting two places at the table for breakfast when it's just me in this big house. I still talk to her every morning. I talk to my Martha. She's been gone for 6 years now. But the conversation we started in 9999999999999 ended yet. When we got married in 1966, the world felt like it was spinning off its axis. We didn't have a penny to our names. I remember we moved into a third-floor walk-up where the wallpaper was peeling so badly it looked like birch trees in the winter. Martha, she was so full of life then. She had this way of humming when she brushed her hair, just a low, steady sound that made me feel like everything was going to be all right, even when the bills were piled up on the counter. But I have to be honest with you, it wasn't all humming and rose-colored glasses. In all my 82 years, I've learned that marriage isn't a fairy tale you fall into. It's a fortress you build, stone by heavy stone, often in the pouring rain. There was a year, it was 1978, when I thought the walls were going to crumble. I was working 12-hour shifts at the plant, coming home exhausted and irritable. Martha was overwhelmed with the kids in the house, and we stopped talking. Oh, we spoke. Of course, we said, pass the salt. And did you pay the electric bill? And the boy needs new shoes. But we stopped talking. I can still hear her voice from that night in November. It was raining, a cold, biting New York rain. She stood by the sink, her back to me, and she said, Eleanor, I feel like I'm living with a ghost. You're here, but you aren't present. I remember getting defensive. I said, I'm working myself to the bone for this family. What more do you want? She turned around, and her eyes weren't angry. They were just tired, so very tired. She said, I want the girl I married back. I want to know what you're thinking when you look at the sunset. I want to know what you're afraid of. I didn't understand it then. I thought talking was for information. I thought as long as the roof didn't leak and the kids were fed, I was doing my job. Young people today might not understand this, but back then, we were taught to keep our heads down and just endure. But endurance without connection is just a slow way to die. It took me a long time and a lot of lonely nights on the sofa to realize that a marriage dies in the silence. It dies in the things you decide not to say because you're too tired or too proud. We almost lost it all that year. I was ready to pack a bag. I thought maybe it's just over. Maybe we've run out of words. But one morning, I woke up before the sun and I saw her sleeping. I saw the way her hand was curled under her chin, the same way she did when she was 20. And I realized that if I left, I'd be taking that silence with me everywhere I went. I sat on the edge of the bed and I waited for her to wake up. When she opened her eyes, I didn't ask about the bills. I didn't ask about the kids. I just said, I'm scared that I'm losing my way. That was the start of it. That was the day I realized that talking is the heartbeat of love. We started a ritual that morning right there in 1978, and we kept it up for nearly 50 years. Every morning, no matter how busy we were, we'd have 20 minutes of us time. No distractions, just the coffee and the truth. Experience has taught me that the hardest part of a long term relationship isn't the big fights, it's the drift. It's the way you can sit across from someone for 10 years and forget to look them in the eye. I promise you, if you don't make an effort to stay curious about the person sitting across from you, you'll wake up one day and realize you're married to a stranger. I remember when the kids left the house in the 90s. The silence was deafening. A lot of our friends got divorced then. They realized they had nothing to say once the children weren't the topic of conversation. But Martha and I, we just kept talking. We talked about the books we were reading, the way the neighborhood was changing, our regrets, our silly hopes for the future. I learned things about her when she was 60 that I never knew when she was 30. Did you know she always wanted to learn to play the cello? She never did, but just knowing she wanted to, that gave me a piece of her soul to hold on to. Let me tell you the truth, it wasn't easy. In fact, it was the hardest work of my life. There were mornings when I was angry or she was frustrated, and the last thing I wanted to do was share my heart over a cup of coffee. But we did it anyway. Love isn't a feeling you have, it's a decision you make every morning. It's a choice to be known and to know another. Now she's gone, the house is quiet, or would be if I let it. But every morning I get up at 6:30 just like we always did. I boil the water. I use her favorite chipped blue mug. I sit in my chair and I look at the empty chair across from me and I start talking. I tell her about the birds at the feeder. I tell her about the news. I tell her how much I miss the way she used to oversteep the tea until it was bitter. People might think I'm a lonely old woman losing her mind, but I'm not. I'm just continuing the conversation, and I'm honoring the work we did. Because when you spend 50 years building a bridge of words between two souls, that bridge doesn't just vanish because one person crosses over to the other side. You have to understand something. You young people, especially, in this world of texting and quick messages and liking a photo, you are losing the art of the long form soul. You think you're connected because you see what your partner had for lunch, but do you know what they're grieving today? Do you know what part of their childhood still makes them feel small? You have to ask, you have to listen, and then you have to listen some more. In the past, we didn't have the option to just swipe away when things got boring or difficult. We had to sit in the discomfort until it turned into understanding. Patience is a lost virtue, but it's the only one that pays interest in the long run. Sacrifice isn't about giving up your life. It's about giving up your right to be right all the time. Loyalty isn't just staying in the same house, it's staying in the same heart. I look at the world now and I see so much rushing. Everyone is in such a hurry to get to the next thing, the next thrill, the next stage of life. But the next thing is usually just another room filled with the same silence if you haven't learned how to speak from your gut. Communication is the oxygen of a marriage. Without it, the fire goes out. No matter how much passion you start with, my late wife used to say that every couple has a private language, a set of words and looks that only they understand. She was right, and you only develop that language by staying at the table when you rather run out the door. You build it by saying, "Tell me more," when you're tired. You build it by being vulnerable enough to say, "I am hurting," instead of "you're wrong." Think about that. Think about the person you love. Are you really talking to them, or are you just managing a household together? Don't wait until the chair across from you is empty to realize how much you had left to say. Say it now. Say it while the coffee is hot. Say it while you can still see the light in their eyes. I'm an old soul, and I've seen a lot of things change. I've seen empires fall and technology transform the world in ways I never dreamed of. But the human heart hasn't changed a bit. It still needs to be heard. It still needs to be seen. It still needs to know that it matters to someone else. In all my 82 years, the best thing I ever did wasn't a career move or a purchase. It was the 50 years of morning coffee. It was the millions of words we traded like precious stones. That is the only thing I'm taking with me when my time comes. The echoes of those conversations. I hope you find that kind of connection. I hope you have the courage to be honest, the strength to be patient, and the wisdom to keep talking, even when the words are hard to find. It's the only thing that lasts. It's the only thing that makes the long journey worth it. So please take a moment today, put down the phone, look at the person you've chosen, ask them something you've never asked before, and then truly listen to the answer. Thanks for listening to An Old Soul. Subscribe, share this with someone you love, and cherish them while they are here. I think I'll go out to the garden now and tell Martha about our talk. I think she'd like that. Goodbye for now.